Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's episode on taking you to the next level. I wanted to do just a quick episode on this subject as we wrap up 2021 and we're, diving headfirst into 2022. And I don't know about you, but it really feels like there is a lot of just general momentum going into 2022. And it's interesting because I remember the end of 2019, and we were all headed to 2020, and there was just so much momentum and focus and talking about, 2020 vision and kind of how that play on words could be like 2020 is your year and what's your vision for 2020. And there were a lot of people talking about that, maybe because it was the end of a decade, starting a new decade, or just because it just had that ring, 2020. And then what none of us could have anticipated happened, right? The pandemic hit, and 2020, I bet that 2020 looked nothing like any of us had expected, right? There's no way we could have even begun to imagine how drastic of a difference there would be between our vision of 2020 and the reality of 2020. And so as 2020 wrapped up a year ago and we headed into 2021, it always felt like to me like there was not a sense of excitement for the new year in the same way that there had been. It would seem like, a lot of people were excited about the new year, but very cautious, right? We had experience had taught us to be very cautious about our expectations of a new year. And it seems like the return to normal probably hasn't even still come full circle, right? Heading into 2021, a year ago, we still were experiencing a lot of the impact from the pandemic and the changes, the lockdowns, the masks. And in fact, some of those things are still with us even today. But to me, it really feels like there's more of a heightened sense of motivation and interest from people at just heading into this new year with a lot more ambition, a lot more focus, just a lot more awareness that a new year is a new chapter for many of us. And that's cool, right? That's exciting. It can be exciting for all of us to just feel that new year, that new beginning. And it's a natural time for a fresh start, for us to set some goals. And that there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And so I have to say that as I head into the topic for this podcast, right? Taking you to the next level is, it's going to start with that vision. It's going to start with your vision. I often say belief drives behavior because you've heard the cliche, if you believe it, you can achieve it. And maybe that's not true for quite everything in life. Like, I'm never going to be the world's tallest basketball player, right? That's not going to happen. Even if I believe it to this day, at the end of the day, I'm still pretty short, 5'5". I'm never going to be the world's tallest, greatest basketball player. Even if I believe it, right? I'm not going to achieve it. But here's the thing. Maybe there are a few things that we cannot achieve by believing, but if we don't believe it, we won't achieve it, because we won't align our actions and our behaviors and our thoughts with it. And so that's why I say, as you head into 2022 and you have a goal, a dream, a vision of taking you to the next level in some dimension of your life. Maybe that's your career, maybe it's starting your own business, maybe it's building your business, maybe it's getting your health where you want it, wherever it is, whatever dimension of your life, personally or professionally, that you're interested in taking just to the next level. Not because there's anything wrong with you, but as Michael Josephson said, we don't have to be sick to get better. There's nothing wrong with you, but you don't have to be sick to get better. And I know that if you're setting goals for the next new year, there's something in you that's yearning to get better. That's a beautiful thing, and it starts with that vision. You've got to believe it for yourself. But it doesn't stop with the vision. It doesn't stop with the vision. Just believing it is not enough to achieve it. You have to be willing to put the work into it, to make the sacrifices that go with it. And that's the hard part. Having the discipline to keep driving and keep taking action, even when you don't feel like it. Because here's the thing, you're not always going to feel like it. Right now, the surge of the new year gets you excited and fired up, and you're like, oh, it sounds great to set some big, lofty goals. And there's nothing wrong with that. But there's a difference between being interested in the next year being different, and there's a difference between being committed to the work it's going to take to get there. Now, I don't want to discourage you from setting beautiful, big goals and dreams for yourself, but I do want you to think through, as you're setting those goals for yourself, I want you to think through the action steps that are going to be required to help you get there. I want you to think through, what behavior changes, what habits do you need to change? What thoughts are you thinking that aren't helping you achieve those goals, right? Because what we inherently value is really determining our thoughts, right? If we value something, we think about it. And if we think about it, we feel a certain way about it. We start to make certain choices because of those thoughts and those feelings. And those choices lead to or influence our outcomes, our circumstances. So, this can play out in your health. I was sitting down the other day and I was having lunch with someone, and I had brought my lunch, and I had a baked potato with some pinto beans and some chili sauce on it. And it's just one of those simple, quick, easy meals that's very easy to throw together and, take on the run. Or it's got good protein in it. It's got some carbohydrates, and it's one of those meals that I turn to just when, I'm in a hurry and I just need something simple but nutritious, and something that I can take and pack easily to having lunch with somebody. And we sat down, and the other person asked me, they're like, what are you eating? Like, I just want to know, what are you eating? Right. And so I explained, what it was and why it's one of the meals that I turn to, particularly when I'm on the go and I just need something nutritious, and the balance of carbohydrates and proteins and all of that. And you can tell typically when I have a discussion like that and I start to get all excited about how my health and how specifically my running and training for marathons has improved since I've enhanced my nutrition choices. And, it's easy for me to get fired up in talking about it because I value it. And sometimes I talk about it and share about it to people who are interested, and it gets them excited and fired up. And sometimes they're not interested and fired up, and that's okay. My point here is that when we truly value something, we think about it differently. And so my relationship with food is different. I think about food differently than a lot of people. A lot of people, and again, nothing wrong with it, it's just a difference. A lot of people think about food as something they automatically turn to when they've had a bad day or it's a celebration. I mean, so much of our culture and society is wrapped up around food as a celebratory thing. And so, we get together with somebody, let's celebrate by having a meal. Let's celebrate by going and having cupcakes. Let's celebrate birthdays with birthday cake, right? When you think about it, a lot of our culture and society is formed around, food as a way to enhance experiences with others, and particularly social interactions. And, that has changed for me because I value, just eating a certain way the majority of the time. Not perfect. I'm not 100%. I mean, I absolutely indulge a little bit, particularly a bowl of ice cream every couple of weeks or some cheese here and there. But this year particularly, I've really started being more intentional with those food choices. And maybe that's just a natural thing that you think about it and you value your health differently as you get older, right? Probably there aren't too many 19, 20-year-olds who are really thinking about their health in the same way that you do as you start to get a little bit older. And Mac always says, you turn 30 or 40 or 50 and your free ride's over, right? You start to pay in those later years, you start to pay for really poor food choices or nutrition choices because you can't, you can't outrun the consequences of them forever. And so maybe that's just a natural perspective of growth or maturity or getting older. But there again, it simply is just an example of how I think differently, right? My relationship to food is different than it used to be because I value what I'm putting in my body in a different way. And there again, I'm not trying to be perfect, and I'm certainly not perfect. Certainly not perfect. Not even close. But what I've just realized is that every time I can be a little more intentional, that's a win. That's moving me forward in the direction I want to go. Right. So I don't have to be perfect, but it's like James Clear said, you don't have to win all the votes in the election. You just have to get the majority. And so I've just tried to increase the number of times that I get those choices right because I value it at a different level than I did 20 years ago, even 10 years ago, probably. So that really comes down to, and that's a great example too of, let's say you want to take um, your health to the next level. Your version of 2022 and taking you to the next level happens for you in the health dimension of life or physical dimension of life. The vision has got to be there. You've got to believe it. You've got to believe that you can improve your health, or quit some of the bad habits, or lose some weight if that's what one of your goals is. But you also have to be committed to the actions and the discipline that is going to be required to get there. So I want you to think through that, right? I absolutely want you to dream about it and set that goal, but I don't want you to stop there, because that's not enough to help you be successful. I want you to sit down and think about, get a game plan, right? I'm going to reach this goal. What are the 3 things that I can do every single day that's going to help me reach this goal? Like, how small do those commitments to myself need to be that I know I can 100% do them, right? How small can you make those commitments to yourself? Because you can always do more than the commitment you make to yourself. But the trick here is to break down that goal into small, very small action steps that you can do every single day that's going to help you reach that goal, right? You have to fall in love with the process of becoming the best version of you, whatever that looks like, because progress and growth it is a process. It doesn't happen overnight. I've used the example of going to the gym and trying to get healthy, and you can't do it in 3 hours one time, right? You have to be willing to go every single day, making some choices for moving your body and eating healthier. I use fitness examples a lot because, number one, I think it's something that most of us can relate to. And number two, I know there are a lot of people who don't necessarily or haven't necessarily thought about a level of intentional thinking and intentional action when it comes to their health. And that is so sad, because I guarantee you, your health is determining your energy level, and you need energy for whatever it is you want to do in life. You need energy to accomplish it. And so making better health choices will help you have more energy, and that's going to give you more energy to run your business better, or to, for me, I recognize that when I have more energy, I can be more available. I can have the energy and the stamina to speak for, hours at a time, and then have 2 meetings back to back. And, I still have that energy to draw on, where I'm not just completely exhausted, or that I cannot take the do the things that I want to because I don't have the energy, right? Whatever it is that you're going to want to accomplish, your health is either helping you or hurting you. And so for me, it's recognizing that leadership of myself starts with making some better choices in a health department, in a health dimension, because that's going to help me have energy to do all of the other things that I want to do, the speaking, writing books. There again, I need energy to do that. You're exactly the same way, right? And that's why, I tell people, eat more vegetables and eat less other stuff. It kind of comes down to a simple thing. Drink more water, drink less other stuff. Move your body every single day, right? The body needs some exercise. It just does. And the better you can think about those 3 things, those 3 decisions, the better you can implement those 3 changes in your life, the easier it is to have the energy to do the other things, right? Nobody is their best at leadership or influence when they have a headache because they haven't had enough water and they're dehydrated and you can't think, right? Nobody is performing at their best. You can't think at your best. You can't plan at your best. You can't be the best version of yourself. So a little bit of a tangent there, but I really think that it is important, and we stop to think about how important it is. But maybe the health dimension is not the dimension you want to focus on for 2022, right? Maybe it's your emotional dimension and your thoughts and awareness. And so maybe you're like, man, I want to set a big goal for myself. I want to write a book in next year. That's a beautiful thing, but then you've got to be intentional about sitting down and going, okay, what are the 3 things that I need to do every single day that's going to get that book written? Right? Maybe that's writing a paragraph every single day. Maybe that's writing a chapter, 1 page. You just figure out what's the smallest steps that I can commit to and still accomplish the goal, and what can I do to accomplish the goal, right? What do I need to? What are the action steps, the strategies? And am I interested in the outcome, or am I committed to it? Because if you're just interested in a better version of yourself, it's not going to happen. You have to sit down and be willing to put the work in and make the sacrifices. And there are sacrifices, right? And the thing about sacrifices, we always feel the loss first. We always feel the loss first before we get to reach what we're sacrificing for. And that's why sometimes it's hard to do, because we've got to let go of something. And sometimes we're holding on to it. Max shared a quote with me the other day. I thought it was so cool. He said, everything I've ever let go of, no, I think the quote was, everything I've ever sacrificed had claw marks on it. Right? And I just have this vision of someone grabbing onto something so tightly and then realizing it doesn't serve them. And so they let it go, but their fingernails are just scraping down the side, because even though they know it serves them to let it go, still sometimes it's hard to let go of that, right? Or it wouldn't be a sacrifice. It wouldn't be a sacrifice. If it's easy to let go, it would just fall away. It really wouldn't be a sacrifice. So I hope that's just given you some thoughts, some encouragement as we head into 2022, relative to taking you to the next level. What would that look like, right? Dream it and then come up with the action plan that's going to help you get there. So super excited about a new series I want to do for kicking off the new year in 2022. I'm going to start just a simple series of podcasts on how to increase your influence, and then fill in the blank, right? How to increase your influence as a volunteer, how to increase your influence at home, at work, with your children. And so I just wanted to break those down to some really tangible lessons or thoughts on specific situations or instances that might not be relevant to everyone, but most of the time we can take the principle out of it and apply it to somewhere else in our life, even if that specific situation is not one that we're experiencing. So super excited to look out for that in 2022. I hope you have a wonderful, happy, and safe new year. See you in January.